The last thing of the three, the descriptive, predictive, is the prescriptive analytics. And I want to tell you about one project that isn't in your book, but it's called the UPS. And UPS is, of course, the service that delivers a lot of packaging. And it's called their Orion project. And this is a very complex computer optimization code. And it finds the best routes every day for the UPS trucks to take to deliver all the packages to you and me at our homes. And if you think about the size of this, probably if you're just traveling around 10 cities or looking at the routes in 10 cities, that's like 3.6 million possible routes that this algorithm would have to consider. But that's a good example of prescriptive analytics. It uses what happened and what will happen to guide decisions about what should happen. So all those drivers every morning go out on a particular route that Orion has determined for them, and it optimizes their routes for the benefit of the overall company. Now, and they're even saying that the upcoming versions of Orion are going to take into account real-time weather and even traffic congestion. So they'll add more complexities for this. So how does artificial intelligence fit in with this? Well, it really goes the extra mile over and beyond prescriptive analytics. And instead of just looking at different possible outcomes that may be simulated, the AI tries to determine by itself the rules that best suit the data to reach an objective. So that's a very subtle difference, but like for example, through machine learning, the algorithm itself is trying to learn and relearn and maybe address the concept drift that we mentioned all on its own without human intervention. So it's a very exciting extension to the descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics. So AI is really disrupting everything already, but in your lifetimes, this is going to be the major one to watch for quite a while to come. And I have some examples here, but one thing that really struck me was an article I read, and it was about Uber, and it said basically, if you are an Uber driver, then algorithm is your boss. And that's interesting to think about. We usually think of a human as our boss, but in the case of an Uber driver, the algorithm is saying, well, here's what you're going to be paid, here's a customer for you to go find, here's the where we'll offer surge charging, and if you're doing well, the algorithm offers you kudos to say congratulations on that, this or that. It might urge you to drive a little bit longer than when you intended. So it's kind of like an artificial intelligence boss, and I think this is an example of where things are headed in the future, and I think it will disrupt a lot of the theories that we have about how management works. It'll likely, AI will take over administrative tasks. I think anything that's routine or mundane or repetitive, this is something that AI will be really good at. So if we think in terms of Porter's forces framework, which has been our lens throughout the course, AI has the potential to reduce a lot of barriers to entry for companies because digital business models require less capital and they can bring economies of scale. AI can impact switching costs. Like for example, knowing where your taxi is or what you will pay, that you'll be intelligently routed. This is how Uber disrupted the taxi industry by having those features. You knew where your taxi was, when it was going to get there, it was estimated, how much it's going to cost you, and that you can trust the route that it's going to take. Those changed a lot of the dynamics of how the taxi industry worked. The entry of new competitors is also altered because AI-based business models and value propositions can pop up quickly. They can look and leverage social and mobile analytics and add in intelligent automation. And companies can access real-time information even through the Internet of Things that's gathering information and providing it. So think of your self-driving car, for example, and how that will alter the business models for probably a lot of the companies that depend on humans driving these cars and stopping along the way for this or that on the way home. Another thing that I heard recently was a quote that said, "Today's generation expects that their messaging from an organization is personalized and targeted. In other words, if I get a message from a company, I'm already assuming that analytics is at play, and that's been personalized and targeted. And I actually don't want to be spammed with a bunch of junk. A lot of people would nowadays prefer to be targeted and get that information, even though there may be this little bit of a creepy factor with it. For example, as I was driving in to make this lecture today, I looked at my Apple Watch and it said it will take you 25 minutes to get to ASU. And I thought, well, that bothers me a little bit that someone out there knows that, or some algorithm knows that. But then again, it was nice to know that in 25 minutes I would be here and ready to go. So there's a trade-off that we have for this personalized service versus the creepiness that might happen with some of AI. So thinking about AI and you, and what impact it might have on you, I think the analysis skills that hopefully you've gained in this course will allow you to keep an eye on the industries where you may want to go to work or you may want to invest, and you'll be able to have a way of thinking about AI and how it's impacting the job market. You'll be able to separate from the hype from where it's really having an impact, maybe in terms of Porter's forces. And so that's a really important outcome of this. And I think it also we introduced a lot of different concepts about business, kind of in a way, kind of a sly way, because we talked about how technologies are changing a lot of those ways of doing business. So if you're so inclined and you're headed on to get more college and majors are available to you, maybe you want to study computer information systems or business data analytics, or even if there's an artificial intelligence program, although those are still just very new, but that might prepare you best for some of these changes to come. So take a look at those. And new skills are going to be needed as AI makes inroads, not just technical skills. And those, of course, are very important, but also the ability to see the business value of AI, to think of the new business models that are possible, and envision how AI might create niches for new business opportunities where those of you who are entrepreneurs out there can take advantage of those opportunities. So I want to just point you to a couple of programs here at Arizona State University that would fulfill this. We do have a computer information systems undergraduate business degree, and some of the positions are listed right on our website, which I will include in the slide deck to go with today's discussion. And you'll see those jobs are like business database systems developer, computer applications, electronic commerce strategy, global supply operations, marketing and business performance, lots of different areas where computer information systems apply. And of course, the AI that you learn in that program will impact a lot of different businesses. So here's some of the careers, too, that I included. One thing that we've noted is that the median salary for information systems is typically one of the highest out of the business school. So that's an added enticement, but it also shows you what the market is valuing as being important skill sets from the business school. And there's a list of those on the website that you can take a look at. Also take a look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics if you're considering a career, because they actually project which careers are likely to grow the fastest. And I think computer and information systems managers is one of those careers. The other degree that I mentioned that you might find interesting is business data analytics. It's an undergraduate degree that we offer, and it focuses more on the data aspects and how that leads into artificial intelligence. So issues like data mining, data lakes, structured and unstructured data, descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics, all those will be topics in that program, and that's a very hot program. The job placements out of that, these are some of the highest growth fields that you see. And of course, as AI basically becomes the jet fuel to a lot of the game changers, according to this graphic that I have in all kinds of different areas of business and commerce, then you'd be well positioned and prepared for that type of career. So I think it's kind of interesting, but I want to point out that sometimes when you start a course, then you hear about what it's all about. You really don't know, have a good understanding of what it was until you get to the very end. And I like this quote from T.S. Eliot. It says, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." So when we were talking introduction to information systems concepts way back at the beginning of this course, I think hopefully now you have a broad taste of an undergraduate or graduate business education, some of the issues that arise, and you have an introduction to how IT has and is going to continue to disrupt industry, and you have a lens like in several of these different frameworks, including Porter's forces, to help you keep track of what transpires. And I say that's what's next after next. So what's next we can kind of predict, and we've been talking about in this class, but what comes after that, you need these frameworks and the analytical methods that we've covered to be able to prepare you. I hope we've exposed you to your own cognitive biases. We all have them. And you've taken a deep dive, I know, into a major tool suite, that's Excel, and that Excel tool suite can help you make a lot of great decisions, I'm sure. And subtly, we've introduced a lot of analytical approaches into your Excel training that'll probably help you in your career and your life. We had you working on budgets and analyzing retirement and looking at performance evaluation and different cognitive biases that come into play in these. And those types of cognitive biases you will see in almost every job or in every encounter and every situation that you come across. So we tried to set you up to be a smart manager of your own career in light of this next technology that's going to disrupt our lives, and that is artificial intelligence. We didn't offer any panacea or here's how it's going to be or how-tos, but being able to track and watch its impact, even across these companies like FANG and BAT. That's going to be a really fun thing for you to do now, and it'll be very important because a lot of the things that they derive and the advantages that they gain from artificial intelligence will be transferred to all the other organizations in some fashion or some way. So thank you very much. I've really enjoyed having you in this class, and I hope you got as much out of it as I did in preparing it for you, and wish you the best of luck in your career. Thank you.